There.
Good morning. I had on my camo stuff because I just came in for duck hunting, but I felt like I would try to change and at least look somewhat presentable. So we are here. Harry's all the way over there. We do have a real live Australian dude in the classroom over here, Harry O'Kelly. And I was going to tell you about Harry O'Kelly. So Harry O'Kelly just graduated from James Madison, where he was the punter. Came all the way here from Australia, Brisbane, Australia. And when you got to JMU, the first game y'all played was against who?
ECU.
East Carolina. Went down to East Carolina to play East Carolina. Had you ever seen a American college football game in its entirety before that game?
No.
No idea. So basically, so understood you've been working on punting, right? Obviously. Yeah. So you knew how to do that, but did you really understand like the full, like what the punting thing was all about?
No clue.
That's hilarious.
Like when the thing says 4,
kick the ball the other team.
Kick the ball the other team, and then after that. So anyway, a good man, Mr. O'Kelly. So thank you for being here. All right, we're going to talk today a little bit about objection handling, but first we got to go over our action items. And there's Dennis in the back. Hi, Dennis. Let's talk about some of the things we asked you to do. One of the things we talked about was our client party. So the reason you want to try to do some kind of client party is to get face-to-face with your database, with your center of influence, with your past clients, so that they might do what? Refer you. Okay, so it's the whole idea of like care. Like if I care about you, you might care about me. There you go. Somebody on there is kicking it in. That's good. So that's the whole idea. So, if you have people over to your house or you do whatever you do. So who has got some kind of a plan for a client event? Ryan does. So we'll just pick on Ryan. What do you got, Ryan?
Having a Super Bowl party at my house.
Super Bowl party at your house. And you got a cool house, and it looks like it might be a cool Super Bowl, although some of the teams that I wanted to be in the Super Bowl maybe didn't make it through the weekend. So that's pretty good. So how much do you think, what is the budget for your Super Bowl party?
Just gonna grab a couple cases of beer, make some burgers, and maybe a couple $100.
Perfect. A couple cases of beer, some burgers, some chips, whatever else. So it's not going to be real expensive. How many people do you hope to have at the Super Bowl party?
I hope to have 20, probably.
20 people. Okay. So 20 people, let's say you spent $200, which, I mean, I know the prices of everything has gone up or whatever, but if you have 20 people, $200 is at your own house with burgers and chips and beers are probably, I think you can get it done for $200.
Yeah.
So let's just say that one of those people gives you a referral in the next 6 months that you close. Is that a pretty good return on your investment? So if you could spend $200 and then you could make at minimum probably $6,000, is that a good investment? I would think that's a pretty good investment. Anybody who want to consult their investment advisor and see if they think that's a good investment, I would think that it would be. That's a good return on your money. Jake, did you say you were doing one?
Yes, somewhat of a client party. So my idea is my dad does a lot of Airbnbs. He's big like the Airbnb business, and he's always having people ask him, how do you get the Airbnb business? Always ask some questions. So we want to have like a how to run your Airbnb business class.
Excellent.
And,
so not exactly a party, but a client event nonetheless. Right. So Jake is going to go out to his people and say, hey, I'm going to let you in on something that could be pretty good for you financially. I care about you enough to try to let you in on some kind of an investment angle, whatever, which also could benefit him because they need to buy something, then they could use Jake to buy it. So I think that is an excellent idea. That's an excellent idea. Anybody else have a client party in mind? Lavelle.
It's not really a party. It's an event like information session that I did back in October. I'm doing another one wherein I invite some people, hopefully, I would like to get as many as possible, but my goal is 10 to 15 here at the office.
It's more like
Hey guys, can you mute yourself? You can mute them.
I don't know how.
when you go to whoever it is, or you can just get a different view, and then when you see everybody, just start muting everybody. You can bring people in, give them some education about credit repair, give them some education about obtaining financing and what that's all about, how much down payment they're going to need, some strategy along with that. I think that's an excellent idea. Okay, so again, if you care about other people, they might in turn care about you. The whole time, remember, remind them about referrals and how important that is to you. Don't just assume because they come to your credit thing that they're going to get it. You don't want to be a jerk when you ask. You know, you want to be somewhat tactful in your ask, but let them understand that, you know, my whole business is built on referrals. A lot of people go out and they knock on doors, they make cold calls, whatever else. I've chosen to try to do a little bit differently. I want to do good things for you, and I want you to, you know, maybe help me when you get a chance. So, and then you can use the mayor campaign. Remember, one of the first things we talked about was the mayor campaign. If you were planning on buying or selling a home, or had a friend or family member who was, am I the agent you'd refer them to? Or do you have an agent you'd refer them to? So those kind of dialogues would be very good. All right, other action items we talked about, sort of the standard stuff. We wanted to call leads and set an appointment. Did anybody call a lead and actually set an appointment? Yeah. Beth Ann.
I had brunch.
Oh, brunch. Very exciting. Yeah. Very good. Very nice. That's 2 meals in one. I like that. So and then what happened? Did that facilitate? Do you think you're closer to having a deal?
They're very happy that I'm doing this business. Their business is going around to a lot of other people in this area because they're like a regional person for their business for this area. So they're touching a lot of other people, and they like me and my personality that they're recommending and talking about it.
So they actually like you.
Yeah.
Gosh, sure, that's great. That's nice. So yeah, that's good. So we talked about with lead follow-up, instead of saying lead follow-up, maybe somebody will get this. What did I say we should call lead follow-up? Not lead follow-up, we should call that. What is the goal of lead follow-up?
To get a referral.
No.
No.
To set an appointment.
Oh yes.
Okay, so instead of lead follow-up, we should call it appointment setting. Okay. You want to, when something magic happens when you sit down with somebody, action is more likely to take place than if you're just out and about and hope it does. I mean, somebody might call Ryan on the phone and say, hey, can you show me a house today? But if he sets appointments and they're talking about stuff and all that, I think it's a lot better when you do it that way. So hopefully after last week, we're more focused on setting appointments than we are focused on just chasing leads around. Because a lead itself really doesn't do you any good. And if I wouldn't be willing to pay you for it, so that's just good. That doesn't mean, again, if you've got somebody on your list and they're nice and you think they're going to do something, maybe, I'm not saying you can't put them in your database, you don't want to follow up at all, but a true lead that's going to, they need to be getting you closer to getting a transaction and a closing and a check and all those good things, right? All right. Let's see what else we had. We had 15 COI contacts, 15 handwritten notes, 5 pop-bys. Again, if you're not making contacts, this is a contact sport, like football, contact sport, real estate, contact sport. Okay, if you're not making contacts, the world's just not going to reach out to you. I mean, we could sit here and hope. This is the method that most agents like to use as far as generating business. Here's their phone. I've been doing this 26 years and it didn't ring just then. Did you notice that? Nothing happened. Let's try another method here. Let's do the yoga method. Anything?
No.
Right. Any other methods you think might work?
Check the ringer.
Run out.
What, check the ringer? Yeah, that's probably it. That's probably I had the ringer off. All right, so those methods suck. So you got to go out and find people. You got to have these meetings. You got to have the client parties. You got to call. You got to write the notes. You got to do pop-bys. You got to do that kind of stuff. And if you're not doing it, don't blame me when you're working at McDonald's. Okay. And if you are working at McDonald's and you can slide me like a free cheeseburger, that would be cool. All right. No, I thought that was funny. All right, so we'll just move on. So today with objection handling, one of the things I asked you to was to bring in some objections that you might hear out there in the real world. Are people always going to say yes?
No.
Right. In fact, you're going to hear a lot of no's. And if you don't know what to say when you hear no, or if you don't know what to say when you don't get the answer that you're looking for, then you're probably, all you're going to get is layups. And in this game, we'll use a basketball analogy. You know, it's almost basketball. I guess it is basketball season. So you got to be able to get some rebounds and loose balls and whatever and do something with that. You can't just take the easy dunks. There's going to be some dunks out there. I hope you get a bunch of those, but realize it's going to be some stuff that you're going to have to manipulate and work through in order to get to the deal. So objections are going to come up. You just got to be able to handle it. So first of all, what is an objection? So you might have a good definition for an objection. Beth Ann, you look like
I don't know if it's like
A reason
an
they don't wanna
objection.
buy.
good one.
Yeah.
So Jake says it's a reason that they don't want to buy or sell or set an appointment or
Or don't
do
wanna
whatever
work
they
with you.
need to do in order to get to the goal. Okay. What's another definition of an objection?
Excuse to get out of the conversation.
Could be an excuse to get out of a conversation. You know, just to move on.
An excuse just not to commit to using you.
Yeah, to not excuse to not commit to using you, or just excuse not to commit. I mean, some people just, I mean, it's sort of scary to commit, you know, especially when you're talking about committing the resources and the time and all the effort to buy or to sell. Could it be a test?
Yeah.
In what way would it be a test?
They want to see if you're being genuine.
They want to see if you're being genuine. They might also want to see how good you are.
Right.
Because if I give you an objection and you can't deal with that, then are you really the kind of person that I want negotiating on my behalf? So that could be a test. All right. Could it be a reflex?
Mm-hmm.
I think I used the example last week about my wife shopping. Can I help you? And she says,
No.
she didn't say no. What did she say?
I'm fine.
I'm just looking.
Oh, okay.
I'm just looking as an objection, right? Is she really just looking?
No.
Probably not. So it could be that there's questions left unanswered based on your presentation or whatever you've been talking about. Maybe you just haven't covered all the bases and they're not real sure about how to move forward. Okay. So that's a lot of definitions of an objection, but that's what we are. What's a condition? We've talked about this. What's a condition and how does it differ from an objection?
If and when.
Okay, Shannon says if and when, that's sort of going to get to it.
Will you reduce your commission?
No, that's an objection. A condition is something that is real, like in her said, like if somebody does not have $1 to their name and their credit is 0, you really can't handle that with an objection handler, right? You can't say something real slick like, well, and all of a sudden their credit is at 900 and they have $250,000 in the bank. That doesn't really, so that's it. If somebody doesn't own this home, can they sell it? If somebody is incarcerated for 25 years, can they go and look at houses? You know, even unless less stringent of an example would be something like, we're going to sell our house when our son graduates from college. How old is your son? Well, my wife is pregnant with our son right now. Okay. Now, things could change, right? But if you know, if the kid is 18 and getting ready to go to college, well, then they're probably not going to sell in the next year or so. Something could change. If we get transferred, then we definitely want to sell our house. But if not, then those are conditions. See the difference in an objection? Objections like we want to think it over. Will you cut your commission? Stuff like that. And we'll talk more about those. So it's important to realize those. Sometimes people worry so much about conditions when you really can't do too much about conditions. If it's an objection, you can definitely try to handle the objection. So I wrote down here, to become a powerful objection handler, you must reprogram your responses to objections. How do you feel when you hear the word no? Okay, how do you feel when you hear the word no? that make you feel good?
I get this little eerie feeling.
Yeah, I mean, that's natural. That's human nature. You don't feel great when somebody says, you're like, hey, so let's do it, right? And they're like, no. Well, you're not in the same, we're not on the same page here. I want, everybody wants to sort of get, positive reinforcement and people agree and everybody's happy. No, it's not really that good. Does it have to always be that way? I mean, do you have to feel bad about it? No. So in fact, we're going to talk to you about sort of using, here we go, my Star Wars thing. How many of you have actually seen Star Wars? The real one, not one of the funny things that comes on the Disney Channel or whatever, like the real McCoy, Death Star, Luke Skywalker, and that bunch. Right? Some of us have seen it, right? Okay. So like the Jedi mind trick, they're in that desert planet and they're like riding in the thing that doesn't have any wheels and they're doing that and the stormtroopers come up and they're like, hey, we need some ID or something. Maybe these are the droids. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi's like, these aren't the droids we're looking for. And the guy goes, these aren't the droids we're looking for. All right. So like, you got to be able to with objection handling, you got to be able to do some stuff where people are just going to be like, man, I'm right in there with you. Again, we're not trying to swindle anybody out of anything. We're not trying, somebody doesn't want to buy or sell a house, then that's their right. Okay. You're not going to talk anybody into it. We're just we know what their goal is. And if their goal is buying, we know that we're the best people to help them. So let's get them on board and let's help them take the steps that are going to be the best for them. That's what we're trying to do. You see the difference? So some of the analogies might be a little bit weird, and I'm going to talk about swords and stuff. We're not killing anybody. We're not trying to swindle anybody. We're trying to help people. You understand that? And if we help a lot of people, what does that do for us? Helps us too, right? Helps us too. Okay, so you can't feel like, you can't start sweating. You can't get really nervous. You got to be able to just sort of relax when people give you an objection, because the natural reaction is sort of negative, right? And when people give you a negative reaction, how do you feel? Negative. And that's why people fight, because everybody just sort of escalates and there's a lot of tension and stress. We don't want any of that, right? We don't want any of that. So if you start your objection handlers with, and you write this in, agreement. If you start your objection handler with agreement and then build your case from there, then you're going to get much further, right? So when somebody objects, people sort of expect a negative response, but if they get something like, hey, I really understand where you're coming from. So using things like, you're familiar with what empathy is. Empathy is like real, sincere understanding, all right? And you can repeat what they say, because repeating lets somebody know that you have heard them. If somebody says, well, we want to think it over, and you say, well, screw you. Okay, that's probably not a lot of understanding. If you said, I'll use Beth Ann again. So Beth Ann, obviously this is a big decision and you want to think it over. That is absolutely normal. And I get it. Is that empathetic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think at least if we stop, I mean, there's some appreciation, there's mutual respect, whatever else right there versus, are you kidding me? Think it over in this market? You're nuts. We just lost the house because you screwed up. How is that for our relationship moving on? Probably not that good. Probably not that good. So examples of agreement. I can appreciate that. Now, if you say the same one, like a lot of times people are like, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. If you say that over and over and over again, people realize you really don't appreciate that. That's just your thing you say all the time. So you have to be able to change it. I hear what you're saying is another one. I hear what you're saying. I understand completely. I feel the same way. And I know where you're coming from. Those are some agreement phrases that you can use. And you can add many other ones. So number 3, it says it's easier to get someone to agree with you once you have
Agreed with them.
Right, agreed with them. And you could even add it empathetically agreed with them. Not just falsely, like, I hear what you're saying, but you're wrong. Is that good? No, you wouldn't want to say that. All right. If you argue, so what we're talking about here is not really an argument. It's just a discussion to try to help guide people the way they need to be guided. if you argue with them, you might win the battle, but you're going to lose the war. Like I remember when I first started like this, I was going after a lot of for sale by owners, and I was really good at convincing people to list their houses. They just hated me so much by the end of the discussion that they were never going to list it with me. They would list it, but that was after the police carried me out of the house. You know, they found another agent. So you got to be careful not to just win the argument. Okay, I'm pretty good at that in my marriage too. Like I'm pretty good. Like I've never really lost an argument to my wife, but I never really get what I want. Does that make sense? Anybody else in a relationship like that? She'll just shut down. She just like surrenders, but then it never really works out the way that I want things to work out. So anyway, it's worked out pretty good in the long run. But I guess the war's still being fought. Okay, strike that from the record. Don't let my wife.
Edited.
All right, here's another thing you don't want to say, and we use this all the time, and I'll do it today. I'll say it 100 times today, and I'm pretty conscious of not saying this word. There's a particular word that negates things, and then there's another word that adds to things. So when you handle objections, a lot of times we're really empathetic and we say, oh, Beth Ann, I certainly understand. Then we want to use a word. But understand, but you know, if I'm like, God, Ryan is a nice guy. I mean, handsome, athletic. But so yeah, it just basically, it's just like that is 100% BS. Before the but is BS. Here's the truth. Okay. If you think about it, that's what it's saying. What if you say Ryan's a great guy, he's handsome, athletic, and then that's like, yeah, keep bringing it. Yeah, I can make room. I got more room for compliments or more room for the truth. So we want to use the word and. So the first blank you write but, and the second blank you write and eliminate the word but from your objection handling vocabulary. All right, number 6, it's important to identify objections from conditions. We talked about that. So normally when people, when people get nervous and they're caught off guard by objections, the natural defense mechanism for a lot of us, there's 2 things. One is to just sort of clam up, and the other is to what we call verbal vomit. You familiar with what verbal vomit is? Yeah, you just talk because if you're talking, they can't talk, and then you don't have to deal with any more objections or whatever else. So you just talk. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I understand or not, but the commission's important. I mean, I got this car, I got a truck payment, got a house payment, and the commission's good. I mean, we get paychecks and love Hometown Realty, and today is Monday, and it's a night, and you just people. Okay, so you got to be careful about that. So when you ramble on, you create unanswered questions in the mind of the prospect, which turn into objections. The more you talk, the more objections you create. And the more they just realize you're a babbling idiot. Have you ever been in front of a babbling idiot? How does that do for you? Do you want to have a babbling idiot handle the biggest transaction of your life? I don't. Number 8, put a star by this one. When you ask questions, you control the conversation and therefore guide the client away from the objections and toward your ultimate goal, which is their ultimate goal. Okay? So ask questions. We'll talk about that in a minute. So we want to practice objection handling using questions. List several likely questions that you might ask. All right, so you have to develop the skill of asking questions when you're in conversation. Mike Ferry used to say, selling is not telling. Right? If you they used to say, like, if you want a kid to really appreciate the bike, do you just buy them a bike, or do you have them earn money and buy the bike themselves? Same thing like this. Like, for somebody to really understand where you're trying to take them, if you ask questions and then they sort of discover by answering the questions, if they come up with a solution, they're more locked into it. Do you understand that analogy? Okay. So when you ask questions, you control the conversation, and then you can guide the client away from future objections and more towards your ultimate goal. So what kind of questions would you ask if somebody says, like if you said, say, well, what's keeping you from making a decision tonight? Well, that's a question. So somebody says, we want to think it over. Is that something you hear in sales? Just, is that exclusive to real estate? No, any kind of sales, we want to think it over. You want the shoes today, ma'am? No, I think I want to think it over. You want the house? Want to think it over. You want a list tonight? Want to think it over. What is a question you could ask somebody that might help you guide them to make a decision?
How long do you think you might need to think of it?
Okay, that's good. And how would you set that up? What would you say? If I say, Ryan, I think I want to think it over. Well, the first thing you say, based on what we've talked about so far.
I completely understand.
Exactly right. But with empathy, like you want to like come across the table and give me a hug. I completely understand. All right. And then what would you say?
How long do you think you guys would need to think about
Is there a word you'd use in between there? Not.
And
Yeah, and, right? Okay. And.
I completely understand. And you know, how long do you think you guys might need?
Excellent. Okay. What's another question you could ask? It might even be a little bit more powerful than that.
What do you need to think over?
That's pretty good. I used to say, what people say, we want to sleep on it. Because sometimes you can use humor, which I think I'm very funny. Some people don't. Obviously, y'all don't. But I think I'm very funny. And I would say, people say, we want to sleep on it. I would say, well, where do you want me to sleep?
Oh.
And everybody would always laugh at that. So that you can steal that one. So what I was thinking of would be like, well, I understand, you want to think it over. Let's say that it's 2 months from now. And we really haven't made a decision. What changes for you? If people are really procrastinating, so put them in a place down the line and say, okay, so it's 2 months from now, we haven't really, what happens? People are like, can't happen. Or they're like, well, nothing happens. Again, it's a way to sort of flush out their motivation, get them to make a decision. So that's another one that you could say.
So is this conversation an initial conversation? Like if I walk up, if I'm just having general conversation with someone, hey, we're looking at, sell your house, or we're having this little concept, when do you think you want to move? And they said, well, I want to do this soon, but I'm not quite sure when. Is that when we have that conversation?
Yeah, I would try to probe. I don't know if that's really not necessarily an objection, other than maybe that's just sort of a statement of fact. But then you probe further, and so we could just role play. So I would say, well, I get it, LaBelle. You haven't really thought. How long have you been thinking about the whole idea of moving? And just keep going.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 months now.
3 or 4 months. And so if we could just paint a picture, and it's 6 months from now, where'd you like to be?
Probably in my new house.
And tell me about your new house. Yeah, tell me, what is it? How many bedrooms does it have? Where is it?
Chesterfield, 3-4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, big backyard, garage, all of this stuff. Nothing extravagant.
All right, now how about this one? So if I could help you find that perfect house in Chesterfield with the bedrooms and the yard and everything you want, if we could find that, like if that came on the market next week, would you be interested in taking a look at it? Yeah. Would you think we could, start the process and get you with the lender and get pre-approved and all that kind of stuff? Do you think, are you ready to take those steps?
I think fear is part of people's hesitation.
Sure. So say that. Say I'm
it's a little quick. I might not be ready for that.
And everybody's. I know when I bought my first house, I was scared to death. Mm-hmm. The great thing, LaBelle, is we do this every day, and we can take some easy steps to make it so simple. Not that it's going to be a piece of cake, but make it simple for you to get you. How are you going to feel when you get in that house, the 4 bedrooms? What's wrong with it? Are you cramped in your house right now?
Yeah.
Do you love the house you live in right now?
No.
So you're ready to get out of that?
Yeah.
Literally, it could be, certainly in 90 days, we could have you in that new house. Wouldn't that be great?
Yes, it would.
So let's do the right thing and set an appointment so we can help you get what you want in the time you want. Won't that be great?
Yes, it would.
Let's do it.
All right.
So there you go. So do you see how?
I'm ready to buy a house.
Did I tell her a lot of stuff?
You asked her all the right questions.
Asked a lot of questions.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you never make a statement, but if I can help her So what I was trying to do is have her sort of future pacing. I'm putting her out there in the happy situation and reminding her of the crappy situation and trying to get her to take the logical action to get there. Okay. But so objection handling can happen at any time in the conversation. It might happen when they're writing the contract. It might happen when you're trying to set the initial appointment. It might happen after they've written the contract. You know, it could happen when at the kitchen table when you're trying to list the club. You never know. All right. Let's see here. So here's another question. I said, if I could find the perfect buyer for your house, when would you want us to start showing them your house? Something like that. All right, here's like an objection that you hear sometimes, and we'll come up with some more questions. We would like to start with a higher price, and then if we need to come down, we'll do that, and we'll have a little bit of wiggle room. You think people might ever say that? Like you're trying to list their house, and you're like, well, the right price is $399. Well, why don't we start at $450? Because we can always come down. All right. What are some questions you might ask? Yes.
Do you want I don't know how to phrase this. Anyway, do you want more buyers to see your property during the showings and during any open houses? $450 may price some buyers out. So we could start a little bit lower.
Are you answering the question that you just asked me?
Yeah, I am. Yep.
So that's a common thing we want to do. We'll ask the question, but then we got to answer. So that's why we're here. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. So zip it. You got 2 of these and you got 1 of these. So use them proportional. Okay. That's a good question. You might say, so I mean, that's a strategy. It pretty much every one of the discussions we have, that's what people want to do. And it makes total sense. My question to you is, do you think that having more exposure and more buyers coming through the house is better, or having fewer is better as far as getting the price you want? Which is better?
Yeah, more buyers.
Why?
More offers potentially.
So you see the why? She answered it, but she didn't expound on it. So why is that going to bring you more offers? This is called using logic. Watch this. So let's rewind a little bit. So Beth Ann, do you think you'd rather have more buyers coming and look in the house, or less buyers if you're trying to get the most money?
More buyers.
More buyers. Why?
Because more buyers would create more interest.
Right. And so do you think if you price the house competitively, you're going to get more buyers or less buyers? More buyers. And you said you want more buyers. Why?
The potential for more money. Right.
And unless you're different than anybody I've ever worked with, you would like more money for your house. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So shouldn't we price it? This is where we've gotten her to make some agreements here. So if more buyers is going to get you more money and you want more money, and more buyers are going to come by pricing it competitively, do you want to price it competitively, or do you want to overprice it?
Price.
See, it's hard to, if you use logic, you can almost back them in to where they can't. Now she could say, well, but we still want 450. She's just breaking the logic. Some people will. Objection handlers don't work every time. Realize that. I mean, it may not work. But if you have a strategy and you have some confidence and you've practiced objection handlers, you got a lot better chance of just going, well, I guess we can just price it at 450. And then that didn't help them, right? That didn't help them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what else can you say? We want to start high and leave some wiggle room in our price. What else could you say?
Why do you think your house is worth that?
Yeah, perfect. You'd want to not just fire that out.
A little more tactful.
Hey, you loser. But you're exactly on the right page. Now time for our musical interlude by Shannon. So you'd say something like, everybody, we want to get the most money for the house, right? I mean, I understand that, and I'm with it. Okay. And then what might you say? Back to your objection handling.
Yeah. Why do you think it's worth that? Or what makes you think?
Yeah, you say, and we've seen the comps, right? Don't you think that most buyers are probably going to do a little homework with their agents and look at the same information that we've showed you?
Yeah.
And when they see that everything else is like, you know, this price and this price and this price, and yours is here, what do you think they're going to say? What do you think they're going to say? If all these buyers are looking with their agents, and let's just say the price, you're saying that the house should be $450. If everybody's looking at these things and it's just pretty clear based on these comps, what are these houses selling for in the neighborhood? $399, right?
Mhm.
And yours is $450. What do you think what would you say to your
What's so
agent?
special about it?
Right. And what happens when a house is overpriced?
We're gonna skip
It
right
sits
over it.
there.
Skip right over. And in this market, when a house starts building days on market, what does that say to buyers?
Something's wrong with it.
Something's wrong. Is anything wrong with your house? Except the price. And we can change that. I mean, if you had a broken foundation or the roof was caving in, maybe, I don't know, I can fix that, right? Maybe we could get it fixed, but we can adjust the price. Wouldn't it be better? Would you rather have multiple offers on your house or one or none?
Multiple.
Multiple.
Start
Why?
a bidding war.
Yeah. What's great about a bidding war?
The price keeps going up.
Keeps going up. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay. So to see how we're doing, asking questions, trying to get them on the right path. And once we do it, might even throw a few extra bones in there to get them excited. Like, that's what you want, right? I mean, we want more money. Yeah. Throw it up in the air and dance under it. Do the money dance song. Y'all seen the commercial with the money dance? I like that. Obviously, y'all didn't like it as much as me. All right, here's another one. We have a friend in the business. Is that possible?
Yes.
You ever run into that? We have a friend in the business. So what might you ask to that one?
What are they gonna do for you? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
What's the expectation to find that out, right?
Yeah. Could you say, I mean, I guess with 6,000 agents in the Richmond metropolitan area, everybody's got a friend in the business, right? The question is, are we really just, you know, I don't know. Are we looking to do a friend a favor, or are you really trying to make this thing net you the most money and have this actually work out with the least amount of headaches? Which is better for you? And then we're going to use an example, sort of a standard technique of objection handling called "Has there ever been a time?" in a minute. And this is a good one where you can use "Has there ever been a time?" Has there ever been a time where maybe you did business with a friend and at the end or during the whole thing, things got a little bit weird and really that put a lot of stress on that friendship?
Yeah.
You know, they say you should separate friends and business, I guess, for a reason, right?
Mhm.
You know, and I certainly when you're talking about the most significant financial transaction of most people's lives, you think that might be a good time to maybe draw that line? You know, I certainly hope we are friends at the end of the transaction, but I'm certainly going to be first and foremost a professional and get this done for you. Is that what you're looking for?
Absolutely.
So there you go.
I had a friend of mine ask me, she said, well, we were just having just regular old girl talk. And she says, well, Belle, I have a cousin that's a realtor and this other lady that's been in the business for like 12 years. She's been a long time. And she said, you just started. Why would I choose you?
Because
And I'm sitting there like, I really don't know, because you know these people, you know me.
You want to role play that one? One of my favorites.
Yeah, okay.
One of my favorites. Now, again, I'm not new in the business. So if it was me and somebody put that out, I would be trying to take the opposite stance, but most of you are new to the business. So I want to show you how to handle it. So go ahead and say that to me and we'll start role playing. I'll be you. You're the friend.
Oh, okay. You'll be me. Okay.
I'm going to be the agent.
Oh, you were, oh,
You're the friend who's worried about it because I don't have a lot of experience.
okay. Yeah, I have a few friends that, you know, a family member that's been in the business for a while. Yeah, you know, pretty much a lot of experience.
Mhm.
I know somebody else that's been in the business for like 20 years or so. And, you know, you're my friend and all, and you just starting. So what would make you different than the others?
Sure. And I mean, I
Why would
certainly,
choose you?
yeah, I certainly appreciate you bringing that up. That's a concern because you want this deal to wind up being the best for you, getting the best value for you. Are you buying or selling?
Buying.
Okay.
And, well, buying and selling.
Okay. Yeah. So you're going to want to get the best price, the lowest price you can when you buy. And then on the opposite side, you want to get the highest price and the best terms. You want to be taken care of during this transaction, don't you?
Yeah.
So can I tell you, there's really two kinds of agents out there. Do you know what they are?
No.
A lot of people think it's experienced and it's inexperienced, but really it's active and it's passive.
Oh,
Can I explain?
yes, absolutely.
Well, there's active agents like me. What do you think? What do you think an active agent does out there, LaBelle?
Work.
Work, right? They
Actually
work.
work and be responsive, communicate, yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
They're gonna, when you call, what are they gonna do?
Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone, right? And some of these, experienced agents, if you've got 20, 30, 40, 50 clients, you got time to pick up the phone every time?
Not really.
And for them, it's like a numbers game, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that how you want to be treated? You want to be a number?
No, absolutely not.
Then there's an active agent like me. We're having this conversation right now. When you call me, do I pick up the phone?
Right,
Is that the kind of service you want?
exactly. Yes, sir.
So rather than get with somebody where it's just a number and you're just a, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right?
Right.
How do you think I feel about it with the level of experience and the commitment, the friendship? Do you think I'm going to care about you? Do you think this transaction is important to me?
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of service you're looking for, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's do the right thing. Let's sign this buyer agency agreement. Let's go to work. Let's get you a house and let's do it the right way and take good care of you. Won't that be great?
Absolutely. Okay, great.
So what I did, that's another example of what we call a level shift. So normal logic would tell you that experience trumps inexperience, right? So I got to work on that. So rather than focus on that, what I took it to was what? Active versus passive. And active equals, who is the active agent?
The newer agent.
The newer agent, right? So it's, again, this is a big Jedi mind trick. Like all of a sudden in people's minds, like, but it made sense, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
is it going to work every time? No, but if you just say, oh, well, I don't really have any experience, so enjoy working with your friend, then you're done.
Yeah, that's
That ain't gonna work. So again, being able to handle objections, not only are you handling the objection, but you're also showing them that you can handle objections. And that's what you want. When your agent is negotiating for you, you're going to want them to be able to get what you want. So if I can, one of my objection handlers, like people when they want to cut the commission, I'm like, so if Bob sits right here at your kitchen table and you just ask him to cut the commission, right, take money out of his pocket, and he says, sure, to you, what is he going to do when he meets me in the negotiating arena, when he's negotiating your money? How do you think that's going to work out?
Right.
I mean, how do you argue with that? Right. So again, you just back to pretty much the root of everything. If you don't ever practice this stuff, you're never going to get good at it. And most of us really suck at it if we don't ever practice it.
Can you text me what you just said? Because I need to practice that.
Well, we'll do that one again.
It's being recorded, so you can look at it on YouTube.
Yeah. All right. So back to the have a friend in the business. Has there ever been a time when you tried to do your friend a favor and it didn't work out? Really, is it about doing a friend a favor or hiring the best agent? And this is very funny. Don't you think ultimately your friend would appreciate you not putting them in a position where the friendship could be jeopardized? That's a little bit of a stretch. Anyway. All right, so let's talk about let's talk about these techniques there's 3 little techniques that you can use, and then we'll just talk about a general strategy whenever you hear an objection, okay? The first one, well, we talked about level shift, right? So the LaBelle said, the objection was sort of, you're too new, you don't have enough experience, right? So what we did is tried to create a Jedi mind trick kind of thing where experience was being equated with passiveness and inexperience was trying to be paired with activeness, right? Another thing you could add in there, so if you were looking to have a really complicated medical procedure, I'm sure they've been doing like brain surgery for years, right? Would you rather just somebody go in there with a scalpel and just take a whack at it? Or do you want somebody who's, more trained in a more modern way? Like me, I just finished real estate school. Has changed in the last 10 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. How has it changed?
Laws.
The laws have changed. You don't want to get in trouble with the law, do you?
Yeah.
No. How about the technology? How about this market? I mean, if you're trying to use 1995 techniques in 2022, what's going to happen? So you need somebody who does it the new way, don't you? See where I'm going with this? But if you're experienced and somebody say, well, I want to use Sally because they just graduated from real estate school, well, then you turn it around the other way. Like, so if you're going to have brain surgery, you want somebody who's their first shot at it. Right? Okay, so that's the level shift. We're getting out of where we're trying to get away from where we're weak and go to where we're strong by asking questions, not just telling them, oh, gee, in Hometown Running, we got 350 agents and we have great training. And this guy named Dean taught us this thing. He's got a cool black notebook, and we learned about objection handling. And then Mike Chenault, he's pretty cool, and we'd see him. And then we have this thing called YouTube channel, and it's called Hometown University, and we can watch that, and we're really good. That ain't do it. Okay. Okay. Next one is, has there ever been a time? Right. One of the things you want to do is you want to try to get people emotionally attached to what's happening. So like when I was role playing with Lavelle one time, I'm trying to talk to her about the future. Like, how great is it going to be when you're in your new home, right? And those feelings, if I can paint a picture, then she can sort of feel that, right? And that can cause action. And the same thing on the negative side. Like, God, so you right now you live in you have 6 people living in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. How does that feel? That's hard. And then she tells them, it's like, God, really, and you want to draw it out, like, and then you wanted her to tell you stories like last night, for instance, we had to wait. My son was in the bathroom, and when he finished, it stunk. And then we had to go. And then all of a sudden, like, next thing you know, the thing floods. And we don't have any. We had to go to the hotel to take a shower. If the more that you can get somebody to really express themselves about how either good or bad something is, the more they might want to take action. Right? Some people are moving away from pain, and some people prefer to move towards pleasure. And you got to get to know people to know which way they're moving, but keep that in mind as you deal with objection handling. So this is called, has there ever been a time? What we're trying to do is find a time in life that things didn't go too well, and then try to equate this situation with that one. Who would like to role play with me? Harry. We have to see because they may not have some of these things in Australia. So may have to shift it up a little bit, okay? So the objection is going to be thinking about selling it myself. Okay. So I'll say something. I'll try to close you on listing your house, and you're going to say we want to sell it ourselves. Yeah. And then try to play along the best you can. Okay. So Harry, obviously all we need to do now is just sign the contract, and we can go ahead and get your house in the market and get you moved in the next, hopefully 30 to 60 days. Won't that be great?
Yeah, Dean, I love what you've said today, but I just really think that we're pretty stuck. I'm going to sell it ourselves.
Sell it yourself.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? I mean, it's, why do you want to do it yourself?
I think we'd lose a lot of money with the commission checks. And I think we've done a lot of research ourselves, and we think we'll be able to. Sure.
So it makes sense because it is expensive, right? It is expensive. And on the surface, it looks like it can be done, right? Has there ever been a time when maybe you tried to do something yourself, right, around the house or something like that, to save some money, and it didn't really work out too well?
Yeah, I mean, we had some floorboards come up, and I thought I'd get the old YouTube up and fix it up, but no, it didn't.
Yeah.
It ended up working out.
What happened?
I had to actually call my mate, and he came over and fixed it for me.
So basically, it's just flooring. I mean, we do this all ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Got the YouTube, crank it up, put it.
Not great. There's a few nails, sticking out, but it happens.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more to it than you thought, right?
A little bit more.
And then you had to call your buddy and pay your buddy to come over. So did it cost you less, or did it cost you more at the end of the day?
I ended up costing more. He had to redo everything that I did, then start over.
Yeah, more money, more time. Can you see that this time is just like that?
Yeah. Okay, let's see where you come from.
Yeah, I mean, it seems simple, right? I mean, if Dean can do it, it must be easy to sell a house, right? Yet, you know, the laws, wow. How about getting to the maximum amount of the marketplace? I mean, what's going to be better? Having a few people come look at your house or having a lot of people come look at the house? Why?
More interest.
Right. You know, what do you do for a living, Eric?
I'm in medical device sales.
Medical device sales. Are you available to answer the phone and come show the house at a moment's notice?
No, I'm actually not.
How do you think that's going to do? When you want to buy something and you're ready to look at something, do you want to see it now or you want to do it maybe next weekend?
I'm pretty greedy. I usually want it right then.
Right now. Can you see everybody's like that? Everybody's just like you. So let's do the right thing. Let's hire somebody who's a professional, trained to do it, will net you the most money. Not necessarily about what you pay, it's what you net, right?
Right.
That's what you want.
It is.
So let's move forward right now.
Sounds good.
Okay, see that? Has there ever been a time? A great one is like a gas. If people like, no, I've never had that happen. So you're telling me you've never bought like a gas grill, you've never decided to sort of get something unassembled and you're going to assemble it yourself, never done any work around the house, all those kind of things. And then maybe they haven't, but most people have. I mean, how many of you could share a story like that? Yeah. Tim, what is yours?
Pretty much what you guys said, doing stuff around my house. Then.
Yeah. Yeah, I took apart my gun one time, like I was going to fix it, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm like taking it apart, and all of a sudden, like something like spring thing happened, and I mean, stuff shoots all over the place. Was I in a nice environment where I could recover everything? No, I was in the woods working on the back of my tailgate, and everything's like. So now I'm trying. I don't have all the pieces. I can't. What I've got doesn't go back together. So I have to like get it in a sack and like take it to Green Top and like do the walk of shame and put it on the desk. They had to order new parts. I missed like 5 days of the season because the parts don't come in. I don't have a gun, you know, and I could have just probably taken it there. And how long would it have taken them to take care of it? Yeah, and I had to pay something, right? But what do you think would have been better?
Having more than one gun.
And can you see that time is just like this time?
When you're getting the looks from the guys in the counter, like,
yeah,
this guy.
Yeah. So that's the deal. Walk them down memory lane and try to throw it out there and try to twist the knife on the pain. You want them to tell you how horrible it was, you know, and you just want to empathize. Oh my God, no way. That's horrible. That must have really hurt. How did that feel? And then just, oh, it sucked. And I felt so stupid and wound up costing me a fortune. And then right when you feel like they're just ready to walk off the plank, you're like, can you see that time is just like this? Hell yes, I can. I'm in. Jedi mind trick. Okay. Then there's another funny one that I saw that doesn't really work for everyone, but it worked for this person. This girl was one of my all-time favorite realtors that worked here. She wound up marrying a heart surgeon, so she doesn't really have to sell real estate anymore. But her name is Christy Burton, great girl. And one time I went on an appointment with her and her friend, and she's sort of like, oh, you know, it's like this, like you talking about girl talk and all that kind of stuff. And they're just talking and whatever. And Christy's friend's like, well, Christy, we've been friends for a long time. Why don't we just go ahead, knock that commission on down like the 4%, like something, you know, just discount that thing. And Christy's like, oh, just get on out here, girl. You can't be doing that. Get on, just stop that. You know, and so that's sort of like just the no, I'm not going to do it deal. Like just the sort of it was all friendly and banter, but when she did that, the woman just stopped. So sometimes there's objections, especially when it comes to commission, because do people really want to talk about, is money sort of a sensitive thing, like especially your commission? You know, a lot of times people have read in the newspaper, they're supposed to ask you for that, or their friend told them or whatever, but most people are a little uncomfortable when it comes to that. Do you feel uncomfortable with that? I mean, when you go like the car dealership and it really gets down to crunch time, most people aren't really prepared to try to negotiate down, especially if it comes to taking your money out of your pocket. Like if I'm getting the GMC for $5,000 less, well, it's coming out of somebody's pocket, I guess, but it's really coming out of like Mr. GMC, and that's really not somebody. But if I'm asking Ryan to give me 5%, it's coming out of Ryan's pocket, right? So it's a little uncomfortable. So sometimes if you just say, gosh, I'm sorry, that our company policy is 6%. Any other questions? Sometimes that'll just kill it. And if you can just kill it with that, wouldn't that be easier than just having to fight? So the get on out of here, girl, or the no, any other questions, or our company policy is this. That's sort of like, I just call that like the stick and move, right? We're just going to pip and move. Respectful, but moving on. Okay, so it's worth a try, because if somebody says, hey, will you cut your commission? You say, sure. How much is that going to cost you in a career? I'm not saying I've never done it. And here's the thing, when I started this deal, we didn't have these classes, and we didn't know. Like, I know Rodney and I'd be going on an appointment, you cut your commission. Okay. You know, God only knows how much money it would be if I had never cut my commission. All right. But if you the thing about commission cutting is it's a habit. Like it gets, if you just get used to doing that, then it's easy to do. So why not just try? Like you're not a bad person if it's ever happened to you, or if it happens a lot. Just try something different. It's like, gosh, you know, I want to help you. And how I'm really going to help you is I'm going to get you the most money for your house. And if we look at it this way, are you looking for what you're going to take away at the end? Or are you focused on what you're paying? Which is important to you? You know, so for instance, I had somebody this weekend, they were all about the commission. I'm like, you know, here's the thing. At the end of the day, when you pay me the 6%, you're going to laugh at whatever you thought you were going to be able to save by me paying me a little bit less. You're going to laugh at that. And they're like, are you sure? I'm like, I am sure. Guess how much more money they were able to get on their house than what the listing price was? How much? $120,000.
Oh, wow.
$120,000. And at the end, they were ready to sign. They're ready to sign. Okay, for 110 over the asking price. And we were worried a little bit about the closing date, because they're building a new home, and you know how a new home, you know, it's going to be ready at the middle of March. Sure it is. So I'm like, why don't we see if we can get some extra time? I call the agent. I'm like, it's close. You know, we got a lot of offers in here. It's close. She goes, what can we do? What do we need to do? I'm like, I tell you, you know, I think the settlement date, if you have a little bit of flex, we're there. I'm like, and I felt like, what the hell? I'm like, you know, maybe a little bit more money could get it done too. And then my folks were ready to go. Like, already got it set up in Authenticon. They're ready to go. They're like, well, all right, let me go back to them. She's like, all right, we'll do 10,000 more. I mean, at the end, I was able to get them 10,000 more, right? And if they go to some bozo who's a loser, if you're willing to cut your commission sitting at the table, I mean, is that person going to fight to get them the most money that they can?
And so they were trying to negotiate you down like 10,000, and then made 120,000
Correct.
more.
Correct.
And got extra time.
Yeah, and I made them, because they're friends, I made them eat that at the end. And I'm glad to do it. You know, but again, you gotta be able to fight. If you can't fight for yourself, and there may be situations where it's appropriate. I cut commission. There may be situations when it's appropriate. You know, if you know somebody's referring you tons and tons of business, and you give them a little bit of a break, never use percentages. I'll tell you that. Never use percentages, because percentages sound like nothing. Like, well, it's only 1%. 1%. How big is 1%? Just this big, right? Well, 1% of an $800,000 house is $8,000. All right. Versus if you said, hey, you know, I'm going to cut the commission. I'm going to give you $2,000 off the commission, because I mean, that could buy you a refrigerator. You know, and tell them. And here's this. I'll ask Shannon. What, you know, Monica, maybe you know when you cut the commission, are they usually very appreciative of that? Yeah. No, they're not. No, they're not. When you cut the commission, like if I sat here right now and I went to my wallet and I gave you $8,000, put it cash money, laid it out like a blackjack dealer and gave it to you, what would you do?
Take it.
Would you say, oh thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. No.
What would you do?
You'd be excited.
You'd be jumping for joy. You'd be losing your mind. Hugs, kisses, jumping up, throwing it up in the air. And if you cut somebody's commission, they're like, thanks.
Yeah.
If that. Yeah. They don't really appreciate it. They might, but most people don't go ecstatic. Like, how many times in life do people come and give you $5,000 to $10,000? Like, never. And you do it, like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Well, again, I'd rather do it at the end, like if the deal, like in a normal deal, like where you negotiate, not up, but down. If they can't make it work and there's $1,500 in between it, if I got to do it, I'd rather do it then. That's when you become the hero versus at the beginning, they just don't appreciate it that much. So anyway, it's just, there are times when you might need to do it. You just got to be, just don't give your own money away. Because if you have a 30-year career, think about leaving $1 million on the table, which could. I am. Okay. So again, try it. Gosh, now our company policy is 6%. Any other questions? See what happens. What's the worst thing that can happen? You wind up cutting it anyway, right? All right, so those are 3 strategies: stick and move, level shift, and has there ever been a time? Here's another strategy. This is a summary of how we're going to do this thing. We've gone over some of this points. So you hear the objection, right? What do you want to do? How do you want to react to that objection? Physically and emotionally, how do you react? Positively was the word you used.
Empathy.
Empathetically, or use empathy. You want to hear it and listen. How do you let people know that you heard it? Repeat it with empathy. All right. You want to smile, excited, not nervous, excited, but you want to be, you sort of want to be a little bit upbeat if it's appropriate, and agreement, not disagreement, agreement, unless you're using the stick and move technique. Okay. All right. And you use those agreement phrases we talk about. Step 2, clarify by asking questions. So like when Harry said he wanted to sell it himself, well, I didn't know. Normally we assume it's because of the money, but what if he just says, well, you know what? I'm in car sales. I feel like I can just sell anything. I've always wanted to give it a shot. I like a new challenge. That's a different objection than we're doing it to save the money, right? So unless you're sure what the root cause of the objection is, try to clarify a little bit if you need to. Does that make sense? All right. Then once we know what we're doing and we clearly understand the objection, we need to start handling. What's the word we want to connect it with? And not the word but. Okay. Then we want to handle the objection. The strategy we use for handling the objection, rather than making statements, we want to ask questions. And we want to use, how many of you ever seen Star Trek, to continue our sci-fi thing? Star Trek, there was a guy who had funny looking ears and he would do this. What is his name? Spock. And Spock was some kind of person. Where was he from? Vulcan. Yeah, because of Vulcan death grip or something, right? He was a Vulcan. And so what when you're handling these objections, you be like Spock and you use logic, right? Logic. So I want to ask questions and build agreement and then tie things together and then close. So if I can get you to agree that if A is good and B is good and A plus B, and I can make A plus B equals C, then C's got to be good, right? So we want to try to build agreement and then take it to where their ultimate desired outcome would be. Okay, using logic. The other thing you can try to do, a little side point, before you start handling this thing, is you can try to isolate the objection. All right, this comes when you think that people are just going to keep throwing them out at you. So you might, like with Harry. So yeah, Harry, obviously, you want to sell it yourself, and that's important. But you feel good, like all the stuff we've talked about, you feel good about that, right? So if we can come to an agreement somehow that I'm going to be helping you with the sale, then you're pretty much good to go. Or basically like commission. Tim, the price, you like the price, right? You love the marketing thing. It's just the commission, right? So if we can come to agreement on that, on a number that's going to work for us, then there's nothing standing in the way of going ahead and signing the contract tonight, is there? See, I'm isolating. I'm not saying, well, once we do this one, then bring in some more. Like if this is our battle, let's fight this battle, and whoever wins, winner take all, and we move forward. Okay, that's sort of isolating the objection to one. All right, so you handle the objection, use logic, then you close. So all we need to do now is simply sign the contract, or let's just go ahead and set an appointment, or let's go ahead and write the contract, whatever it might be, we're closing for the desired outcome that everybody wants. All right. And if you, in one close that you never want to use, unless you're using the stick and move, is any other questions? Because what does that mean? That means even if you didn't have any, try to find some objections. If I say any other questions, I'm asking you for questions, right? Even if you don't have any. So close with a natural thing that feels good for you. Don't say any other questions and then move on. Got it? When people are ready to sign the deal or to take the action, let them take the action. One of the things that some people get into is they want to double seal the deal. So LaBelle, all you do now is sign the contract. Great. And you know what, LaBelle? I would like to tell you more how wonderful I am. In 1988, I graduated from Hampden-Sydney College. I proceeded on then to take employment at the college, where then I traveled the country, meeting young men and bringing them into the folds of the wonderful college, all the while getting married, raising children, and attending Longwood University and getting a master's degree in some bullshit that doesn't really matter. As an avid hunter and sportsman. And then I'm like talking her out of it. Like she's like, well, I was going to go, but thank God I didn't sign anything right then because this guy's a loser, right? So when they're ready to do it, right? There's nothing wrong with it. And people are like, well, I didn't want to force them into it. You know, if they say they want to do it, then do it, right? The bottom line is you've got to understand you're good at this. And if you don't feel that good at it, realize there's people around you that are good at it that can help you be good at it. So get while the getting's good and move forward, okay? All right. Remember these things. A powerful presenter anticipates the objection and handles them before they come up. All right, how do you anticipate objections? Pre-qualifying. When you're talking to somebody before you set the appointment or before you do whatever you're going to do, if they say something like, well, you know what, Buddy Rowe, you bring your Australian butt into my house and you talk about that 6% commission, I'm going to kangaroo kick your ass right on out of here. What objection might be coming up? Commission. Or, you know, if they say, well, gosh, money is really tight and, you know, we're gonna need to get the absolute most for the house and, you know, pay the least or whatever, then you realize some categories of objections might be coming up. Do you want to handle the objections on the phone? No. If possible, no. If possible, no. Just, you know, and how you do that is just say, hey, those are valid points. And those are some things, we're going to talk about those. In fact, I'm going to write it down right now and make sure we cover those when we sit down together this evening. Won't that be great? Yes, that'd be great. Okay, so we anticipate the objections. And then let's say LaBelle's going on an appointment and they're like, well, you know what? I've got a lot of friends who've been in this business a while. I know you're pretty new. She says, well, you know, that's great. That's a valid point. Definitely going to cover that first when we get to the house. Then what might she want to do between now and the time she goes on the appointment? Practice it. She's going to be like, Shannon, oh my gosh, I got a problem. And then we're going to role play. And she's going to be like, oh, well, I'm really good. And my hair is cool. And I have a blue sweater on. Don't you want to work with me? And Shannon's going to go, that sucks. And then she's going to do something. And then she's going to say, well, that was good, but that wasn't that good. And then Shannon's going to go and say, oh, I could say that. And then she's going to go. And then all of a sudden she's going to feel like Jedi Knight. She's going to come in the door like, you know, with lightsaber. And then she gets what she wants, right? Because she's the Jedi Knight of handling objections. So you have to practice it. If Luke Skywalker doesn't practice with that little thing, like in the spaceship, you know, the little thing shoots him and hits him shoots the little thing. He has a mask on. Remember that?
Yes.
So if you haven't seen Star Wars, that's your assignment. One of the homework assignments is to watch it because it's really relevant to life. But if you never practice, you're never going to get good, right? I mean, if you're in the NFL, like if you're Patrick Mahomes and you never practice, like, what do they score? 17 minutes or something, getting the ball in the field, like
13 seconds.
Yeah, so in 13 seconds. But if you never practice high stress situations in football, it doesn't work. If Harry doesn't ever practice punting, he doesn't ever have good puns. You see, I mean, it's like anything, you just got to practice. So when presenting, don't jump to conclusions. Beth Ann, let them finish what they are saying. Don't answer your own questions. The key is listening for the real objection. And then I wrote, shut up and listen. Does that say that in your book too? When you qualify for appointments, listen for the potential objection. So that's it. So any questions for today?
I have one.
Okay.
You asked us to bring in our most feared objection.
Okay.
Right? So the one that I answered, but I'm still stumbling over it, is, well, I'm not sure I can sell right now because I'm afraid I won't be able to find something.
Right.
So how would you handle that?
Sure. Didn't we talk
I
about
know
this
how
the other day?
Shannon would handle it because we've discussed it.
Sure.
But how would you?
And here's the beautiful thing. The more people you sort of practice with and talk to, the more objection handlers you can get. Mine, you might not like. You might like Shannon's. You might hate Shannon's. You might like Tim's. You might like something that Tim said, something that Shannon said, something that I said, and you put them all together. You might hate those, and then that makes you come up with your own. Okay. If you never think about it, it never gets better. So, all right. So how I would answer that. So just give me that one more time. Then we'll start.
Well, I'm not sure about listening right now because we're not sure we'll find somewhere.
It's a crazy market, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and I understand you don't want to be homeless.
No.
Right. Yet, which is sort of like the butt thing. It's a soft, flabby butt. What, you know, so, but this house is still not getting any bigger, is it?
No.
And your kids aren't getting any smaller. So what happens if you're here, if we don't take any action, you're here this time next year, how does that make you feel?
Disappointed.
Disappointed. And what else? Is the house getting any bigger?
No.
So cramped?
Cramped, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. And all this maintenance, like you're telling me, you're fixing all this stuff. You think that stops?
No.
What about the new house? You said you wanted to move into a new home. What does that do for you? How does that make you feel?
Probably better because I won't have to fix anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, it's going to be, whether it be a brand new home or whether it be something that's newer, then all that stress goes away. And still, we've got to figure out, what if we sell this? You know, is there something else out there for you? Do you think if you never sell this house, if you never put it on the market, is it going
to? No.
So if we never sell this house, you're not going to be able to get all the good things that we're talking about.
Right.
So here's a couple ways that other people have handled this. And I can tell you, it says the same thing. So don't think you're alone. Is that a good phrase?
Mm-hmm.
Don't make people feel like they're, you know, gee, Beth Ann, you're so stupid. You're the only one that ever came up with this cockamamie idea, and I'm going to belittle you for this. Mm-hmm. Not like that at all. Everybody, you know, this is the exact same question that we handle all the time, and we figure this out. So I think we can figure it out. So feel good about that, right? Because you still want to get in the house. Mm-hmm. We just got to figure this out. What if we put your house on the market? Okay, got multiple offers. The price went way over what we think it would go for, and then we gave you 30 days after that to find a new house. Would that work for you?
I don't know if that's enough time to find something. Sure,
might not be. And then we could go back to the buyer and say, hey, look, if you still want Beth Ann's house, we need another 30 days. You do that all the time. Would that work for you?
Could be.
Okay. How about this? Do you have any friends, family members that you could move in with them or stay somewhere temporarily for a short period of time?
I'm gonna go with no.
Okay. So let me ask you this. If somebody's buying your house, okay, and we have a number of offers, which one are you going to be the most likely to go with? Somebody who has a house to sell or even to close, or somebody who is just ready to sell? Their house is closed. They're holding cash money in their hand. Mm-hmm. Which buyer do you like?
Cash money. Yes.
So when you're out shopping for a house, do you want to be in the best situation to be able to buy and have your offer selected, or do you want to be in more of a subordinate position?
I see what you did there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I want to be that person.
You want to be the one that's going to win, right?
Right.
Well, the only way we can do that is to have your house sold. And then you can point out some things, but some people still may not do it.
Right.
So I want to, hopefully there's some pain in where she is, and there's some real pleasure where she wants to go, because then there's motivation. But if everything's fine, like, well, you know, I could just stay here and everything's great. Not too small. No, it's actually fine. We love it here.
Right.
And they don't really want to move.
Right.
So that is a situation that rarely in my career, except for now, we've had to deal with that. So I mean, honestly, I think the best thing to do is, if you know you got to move and you really want to move and you're motivated to move, you got to sell right now and then figure it out, and then be on the sidelines with as much cash as you can to get in the game, and hope more inventory comes up. At some point, there'll be more inventory. Might be 2030. I hope not. I'm just kidding. So does that help? That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Again, if as a advisor and a helper and somebody who cares about their clients, if we're talking and you really need to move, then my job is to tell you what it's going to take to do it. And it may mean finding a rental that you maybe get 6-month rental, or maybe staying with friends, or maybe trying a different technique. You lay all the options out.
Right.
You know, if they don't pick it, then
yeah,
you've still done your best. All right. You know, and it maybe there's an investor. It depends on, like, if you got a first-time home that they're selling, like, let's say your people on like a rancher that would be a good investor kind of thing. Maybe you say, hey, well, look, maybe I could reach out to some investors that I know, see if somebody's willing to buy your home and rent it to you for as long as you'd need it. Would that, I mean, to me, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So does that help at all?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Any other questions? So, all right, for homework. So what I would say is, you want to write down a list of objections. I'm going to read off a few, but you want to write down a list of objections, because we're using another football analogy. So if like, so who plays? The Chiefs play the Bengals. All right, so if right before, like, let's say 2 days before the games, I guess it's going to be in Arrowhead Stadium. So if like Cincinnati Bengals head coach is like walking through the stadium, like looking around, you know, like sees like, it's like, interesting. Kansas City Chiefs playbook for the Cincinnati Bengals championship game. Let's see what we have here. Play number 1 will be a pass to Travis Kelce around the middle. Number 2, number 3. And if we have 3rd in this, here's what we're going to do. All right, if you found something like that, what do you think the Cincinnati Bengals coach is going to do with this information? How are they going to use it?
Yeah.
They're going to prepare play number 1 to Travis Kelce. Hey, Bob, Travis Kelce is going to run this route. Do you think you and Fred could like prevent this from ever happening successfully? Yes. Let's practice that. Okay, good. We got that one in. Play number 2, handoff up the middle. Steve, you and Phil smash in there, tackle him. Play number 2, they hit him in the backfield. And you would practice against the plays that you knew they were going to run, wouldn't you? You would use the intelligence that you picked up. Well, in objection handling, it's the exact same thing. We know the objections that they're going to use. There are no real new objections out there. Okay, so if you write down a list of objections and you practice handling them over and over and over, then you will become a Jedi Knight of objection handling, and you will have no fear, and you will tread into the world of successful real estate very quickly. And here's the other thing. Once you become an expert at handling objections, do they come up more often, or do they come up less? Less. Most people, when they sense you're good at it, that's just confidence, right? And if you exude, it's a big word, Ryan, exude confidence, then people follow, right? And yet if they sense fear and weakness, what do they want to do? They want to attack, or they want to ask a bunch of questions. Wait a minute, before I work with Shannon, we're going to have to get some straight. Shannon, are you legit? Like, how long have you been in this business? Like, you got to be willing to cut your commission and yada, yada, yada. But if you're just exuding confidence, people are like, I'm in, because this person's going to get it done for me. And that's what being a powerful objection handler does for you. So if you can find the playbook, which here's the playbook, and you just study these and practice these, that's all it is. So you got to do it. Okay, you just got to do it. All right, any questions for me? Homework. Try to come up with 10 objections and just practice some objection handlers. Still need you to do the calls, notes, and the pop buys. Hold on here, one other. You should see in here, there's some objection handling scripts in here. You see those? 15 COI contacts by phone, 15 handwritten notes, 5 pop buys. And then next week, we start talking about working with sellers, pre-qualifying sellers. Eventually, we'll go into the listing presentation. We will have live listing presentations done by you guys in front of a manager and a panel and whatever else down the line. So to just make sure you got your listing presentation tightened up. Other than that, I'm Dean. Shannon's behind the camera. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you guys for being here today. Thanks for all you watching out there. Have a big day. Now I'm looking at some names. Stephanie, Krista, Karen, Monica, Lance, Ellen, Beth, Kawanda, Kelly, and everybody else. Thanks for being here. See ya.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
And special congratulations to LaBelle, who I believe got her first closing last week. Was I right in my email to you?
It will be closing on the 15th.
Even better. There you go. For sale, right?
Sale.
Good. Anybody else have anything great happen over the weekend?